Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Oh, good day, Internet.
Hey, Internet, good day.
Tom Merritt, welcome back from CES. This is DTNS Live for Friday, January 10th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
Yes, in Los Angeles, not Las Vegas. I'm Tom Merritt.
Oh, drawing the top tech stories in Cleveland, I am Len Peralta.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Daily Tech News Show Live is made possible by you listening right now. Thanks to all of you, including Larry Bailey, Michelle Sergiu, Kirk Stephenson, and everybody. Welcome our brand new patron, Thang.
Welcome to DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand everything we've been looking at all day a little bit better. How is everyone doing? And Tom, again, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
how was your reentry into beautiful Los Angeles?
bumpy. It was quite a bumpy flight coming into Burbank, and our dog had been at board and train, and the board and train was near one of the fires that broke out yesterday morning. So we had to go pick up Seven. So if you hear a dog galloping past my door, that's Seven the dog. He's back in the house, which means I lose half my day again.
Oh boy, it's been a struggle bus for a lot.
Oh
of
yeah,
people
that's the
in
least
Los
of the
Angeles.
struggles of people in Los Angeles. Trust me.
Yes, yeah. We've been doing our thing here, and many friends of the show and audience members have been sending in really nice notes of support. Thank you to everybody for caring about us. Thankfully, we're all okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're not in danger. We're all okay. It's not even that as smoky for me today as it has been here.
Yeah, the smoke 2 days ago was, it was like,
it was thick.
there's a campfire in my bedroom.
Yeah.
It hurt to breathe outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. How are you, Len?
Oh, it's cold here, but we're avoiding a lot of the snow. The snow all hit down south in Atlanta, and
That's another one that's big. Yeah.
we missed all of that. So just cold.
That's good.
But just pulling for you guys out there.
And pulling for the people in the snow down south. They're not used to that.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time.
Yeah, a lot of extreme weather in a lot of different places. So yes, stay safe, everyone. But let's go ahead and do the show that you're here for. So let's peruse the latest news. TikTok faces a looming deadline to divest from its Chinese parent company ByteDance or be banned in the U.S. following an appeals court upholding the divest or ban law. Oral arguments before the Supreme Court on January 10th focused on issues of data security, national security concerns, free speech implications, with TikTok's attorneys requesting a delay to allow time for a potential deal under the incoming Trump administration. The court's decision is expected soon, with debates centering on TikTok's data collection practices, content manipulation fears, and the law's broader implications for foreign-owned tech companies.
The Linux Foundation has launched an interesting little project called Supporters of Chromium-Based Browsers. It will provide funding and support for Chromium, the open source foundation for browsers like Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge. Industry giants are on board too. Google is part of this. Meta, Microsoft, Opera, they have all joined the initiative, which wants to foster collaboration through an open governance model, emphasizing transparency and community-driven development. And Google is going to retain its involvement and basically the housing of the development of Chromium. But this move continues the trend of having more than just Google involved, decentralizing Chromium's development, letting some broader contributions to the project happen. Chromium, of course, powers dozens of browsers. In fact, if it's not Firefox or Safari, it's probably powered by Chromium.
WordPress parent company Automatic announced it will reduce its contributions to the WordPress core project, aligning its efforts with rival WP Engine's 45 hours per week under the 5 for the Future program. Automatic cited fairness and a need for greater participation from all stakeholders while reallocating resources to its legal battle, which it is definitely still having against WP Engine.
A copyright lawsuit against Meta brought by the authors, several authors, including Sarah Silverman and Ta-Nehisi Coates, alleges that CEO Mark Zuckerberg approved using the pirated LibGen dataset to train Meta's Llama AI models. In other words, they knowingly included works that were violating copyright at the time they included them. So it's not just the including them that is the violation of the copyright. Newly unsealed court documents claim Meta stripped copyright information from those LibGen files, which would actually be part of the ingest process, maybe not as malicious as it sounds, torrented content despite legal concerns, and sought to conceal its actions. That is the most concerning part of this. Plaintiffs argue this constitutes deliberate copyright infringement, though Meta argues it's still fair use. The case currently focuses on Meta's earlier Llama models, with a decision still pending.
KV87 submitted this one in our subreddit. Thank you for that, KV. The USB Implementers Forum is doing away with names like Super Speed USB 10 gigabits per second. Along with the logos, the labels will now just say the speed of the device or the cable, such as USB 80 gigabits per second, for example, or 40 or 20, whatever it is. That's it. Nice and simple.
I think we can all agree. Making USB easier.
Simplicity is great. The sports-focused streaming service Venue, that's VENU, co-founded by Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Fox, has been discontinued. Legal challenges, including an antitrust case from Fubo, which is no longer the case, but was very recently, and injunctions from a U.S. district judge contributed to this move. On Monday, you might recall that Disney announced a merger of Hulu Plus Live TV with Fubo, which influenced Venue's demise.
We hardly knew you, Venue.
We really didn't at all. No.
We never got to knew you.
Yeah, we really didn't.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is earlier in the week, Disney came to an agreement with Fubo to create a joint venture that's 70% owned by Disney. So it's kind of Disney buying Fubo, but not exactly the same on paper. And the Fubo management are going to run Hulu Plus Live TV, as well as continue to run Fubo. There are a bunch of other deals in there to bring a ESPN and other Disney sports channels to Fubo, to give Fubo some money while this joint venture gets set up. And it dismissed the court case. So you would be, forgiven for thinking like, oh, so that means they'll now launch Venue. They've gotten Fubo to drop the case. The problem was 2 days ago, DirecTV and Dish both filed briefs with the court saying, we thought Fubo had some really good questions, and we know they've dropped the case, but we'd still like those questions answered. Now, that's tantamount to filing their own case. And it sounds like Disney, from all accounts, was the one pushing Fox and Warner to be like, let's not continue to fight this in court, because if we lose, we could lose the right to bundle at all. We might find that bundling channels is antitrust. So let's just drop the whole thing. So they are no more Venue.
Yeah, so Disney's deal to merge Hulu Plus Live TV with Fubo is just under YouTube TV as the biggest sort of conglomerate that isn't traditional cable. Mm-hmm. So I feel like Disney and the others, of course, are probably like, you know what? Let's just not, let's not rock the boat more than we've already rocked it. We've already got, this nice situation with Fubo going forward instead of being in court. So if we cut Venue from the docket, then maybe we fly under the radar a little bit more.
I do think it means you're less likely to see what everybody keeps saying, is happening, which is the reemergence of cable. Venue was a step towards a specialty cable. Like, what you can do on the internet is so much cheaper than what you can do if you have to dig up the ground and put cables in it. So you can just throw together, like, what if we all put all our sports channels in one package as the provider? Because they got scared away from court, you're not going to see that happen in sports. You're not going to see that happen in anything. You're going to see bundles continue to be provided by someone who doesn't make the content. I think that might be good news for cable TV, because if I'm Cox cable, or I'm Spectrum cable.
Comcast,
Yeah. Comcast, I was trying to avoid using Comcast as an example because they own NBC and it gets confusing. But yeah, Comcast cable, you could say we're independent, we're a third party. We will provide the venue for you to buy Peacock and Paramount Plus and Disney Plus. It won't be a bundle. We'll just be the payment aggregator. That could be a good future for cable TV, just as the place that pulls together the services for you versus a new company like Venue that's actually bundling things in a way that could be seen as antitrust.
Now, see, I've got a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned sports, so this is the first.
You just
time
want to
hearing
brag about how good the Cavs are.
that.
Sorry.
Well, you know what? So it was really difficult for me to watch them because of the RSNs and not being able to show that. Fubo was one of the places here in Cleveland you were able to watch the Cavaliers, right?
Sure.
With this purchase, does that mean that RSNs will come along, or is that kind of a different thing entirely? Because Fubo does show these things on RSNs. Does this deal? Do they bring that along to Hulu Live TV?
It doesn't bring it to Hulu Live TV yet. Fubo and Hulu Live TV are going to be separate. It will give this new joint venture a leg up in adding those. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hulu Live TV gets a lot of the things that Fubo has, because it's the same people running it as are running Fubo. And now they can go to those RSNs and say, hey, that deal you made for us, could you make it for Hulu plus Live TV? And they got a better shot of making that happen. But also the whole RSN thing is its own complicated mess,
It's a mess
because Diamond Sports, which runs the large majority of what used to be called Fox Sports Net and then Bally and is now FanDuel Networks, they're on the verge of going out of business. All the sports leagues are kind of trying to make them go out of business so they could take all of those RSN deals in-house and make all the money themselves. So who knows what's actually going to happen with regional sports networks, which is what RSN stands for.
Yeah.
But yeah, to this specific question, it doesn't automatically make it easier, but it could, I think.
What kind of content does Fubo have that Hulu Live TV is interested in?
It doesn't. But I think that's a really good question too, though. What Disney saw was a way to settle this court case and a chance to get people who are very successful at running an independent streamer to also run theirs, right?
Yeah.
And say you guys are good at this. You should run Hulu.
Sure.
Not Hulu the on demand, but Hulu Live
Right.
TV.
Hulu Live TV.
It's also when it comes to bundling a certain kind of, the whole idea with Venue is we're going to bundle sports content. If you're not a sports fan, you don't care about this. But if you are, you're going to care about this in some capacity. If it makes sense for you financially, this is the kind of cable alternative that people are looking for. I wonder what besides sports has such a rabid fan base in that same way. I mean, you could bundle anime, right? Across some folks. You could bundle reality television. You could bundle. Yeah, you could bundle.
Yeah,
all sorts of
it's
stuff.
hard
But
to
when
think
it
of an
comes to
example, right? Because
sports-
anime is a good one, except there aren't that many services, so there's not even that much to bundle. But yeah,
Right.
that's the kind of fan base that you could get passionate about it. Reality TV folks, they're not just ooh, I want to pay for a reality TV service.
But,
I don't think they're more oh, where I am, I'll watch the whatever reality TV.
Or comedy shows, say like Portlandia or something like that. Things that you can't find on Netflix anymore. So
But I mean, the thing with sports that makes it so unique is that people want to watch the live. Yeah, you can watch a game after it's been played, but that sort of vicarious thrill is the whole point of why you watch it when it's progressing.
Yeah, sports channels are one of the few that are surviving, right?
Yeah, and so it's really hard to say unless there's something that's really time sensitive that you need to see it as it happens. Because with anime TV shows, you can watch, you watch in syndication, you watch it on DVDs, you can watch it after the fact. There is an impetus to kind of be there during a championship game, during a World Series or whatever.
Yeah.
I
guess a movie, like if enough different services bundled their movie rights together, that could be compelling because it's like every movie as it comes out is available in MoveU.
I mean, talk about antitrust. I think that.
Well, yeah, and that's what is going to make that. Nobody's going to do that because. Well, first of all, you're going to get the folks who struck those deals are going to get upset and they're going to want to sue because they're like, well, we made a deal with Peacock and now you're putting that deal somewhere else.
Yeah.
But also, the fact that Venue became so clearly a legal landmine for these companies, I don't think anybody's going to do it with anything lesser. Did you come up with any? I couldn't think of any other examples either.
Everything I thought of was a sporting event.
Yeah,
I was
sports.
like, UFC, boxing.
News, I guess, but
I mean, the thing
only
with
need-
sports
yeah.
is there's so many ways that we consume content that sometimes it's fun to do it live. Sometimes you do it on, your own time. Sports doesn't really work that way.
Yeah.
It's like
You
the
do it when it's
bundle to
happening.
have a bunch of sports that you want to watch when it's happening because otherwise it's going to be spoiled for you or you miss the whole thing
Right.
eventually. That's a big part of it.
And you
News
can't really
is
do
news you want to watch live, award shows. You want to
award
watch
shows
live?
maybe, but news
Maybe.
you can't really license the event, right? Oh no, your house is burning.
No,
and
but
I'm gonna-
you could combine multiple
Yeah.
news channels together in a service theoretically. I don't know that anybody's going to pay for that though. Is the thing.
All right, Tom, we've been talking about TikTok and this looming ban in the US that may or may not be happening, but it's definitely being decided right now. What's the latest?
Yeah. So as we mentioned earlier in the show, the Supreme Court heard the arguments, and as I mentioned on DTNS briefing earlier today, it doesn't look good for TikTok. I went through all the scenarios there, but the short version is the likelihood of TikTok shutting down in the U.S. on January 19th just went up a lot. There are ways it might still not happen. I think it's worth repeating over and over because even people in technology who follow this, I've noticed, misunderstood. The law does not require TikTok to shut down in the U.S. They can still continue to provide service to existing app users after January 19th. The law says the app stores and web hosts in the U.S. can no longer distribute it. So TikTok doesn't have a US web host, so that's fine. And the apps you have aren't required to be blocked from working. You just can't give people new apps or updates to them. So TikTok can continue to operate in the US on January 19th. It sounds from what CBS News reported and from what their lawyer was saying during the oral arguments in the Supreme Court that ByteDance is going to be like, well, if we run out of legal options, we're just going to shut it off. Because everybody thinks that's what the law says anyway. So we're just going to let them think that it was because of the law and shut it off. So what I thought we'd talk about today is, okay, if that happens in the US, what are you going to do? So if you're watching or listening live in Twitch or YouTube, let us know if you've thought about this. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to move to just using another app? If so, which app? Are you just not going to do anything? Let us know in the chat, and we'll go around the panel here and talk about what we're going to do. I'll start. I asked Eileen, my wife, co-host of Apple Vision Show, who has a huge following on TikTok for the stuff she posts there, what she was going to do. And she basically, and the folks in her community, because she knows not a lot of other folks who do that, she said it looks like YouTube and Instagram. She has some TikTok friends that have just started following her on Instagram recently, maybe doing shorts, maybe doing reels. A lot of TikTokers don't like reels. But it's just a different audience. But yeah, it doesn't seem like people are freaking out or necessarily talking about Lemonade, at least not in her area. Sarah, what about you?
I have a lot of friends who use TikTok. I have a TikTok account. I don't post anything there ever, but I occasionally, spend 4 to 9 hours in a TikTok rabbit hole. But there are quite a few folks, and I would say it was about maybe a year ago that some of my friends who, like to keep up on the latest news around the world and pop culture and this and that, saying, yeah, I mean, TikTok is like the best place for this. And I was like, it is? Like, in what way? Well, it depends on your algorithm, of course, right? So there's that. But I think that there are, especially the younger set of folks who care about technology, but also care about everything in the world, who use TikTok as a news source. Kind of the same way that I would say in 2010, I used Twitter as my news source. Now, of course, that's it can be a landmine. You have to you have to check your sources and make sure you understand where the news is coming from. But I think that is a big part of why this means a lot to a lot of people. I know some people in our chat are like, I don't use TikTok. Who cares? If you don't care, you don't care. But a lot of people do care. And there's more to it than just sort of like silly dancing videos. And I think that it reminds me of the early days of social networks in general, where people were like, who cares what you ate for lunch? It's like, well, that's not really, we haven't been doing that for a long time. This is actually a way to share news, also a way to disseminate news that may or may not be accurate. So there's that. And TikTok is definitely,
unlike Facebook and X and other
Which is
places,
totally
TikTok
above
might
board.
disseminate
All of-
news that isn't true, right?
But I mean, that's my blanket argument for all of these. It's like, you need to either understand what's going on and understand when you are being manipulated, or if you choose not to engage, then don't. But I think TikTok is a bigger deal than just sort of some frivolous sort of like, oh, people are, posting photos of their videos of their latest vacation. It's like, there is that, but there's a lot more to it.
Roger, what about you?
It's weird. I don't use TikTok, and my kids kind of do, but it's weird. Within the past year, I think my kids, they're in the grade school set, and a bunch. In fact, all of their friends have coalesced around YouTube Shorts and YouTube, and I think it's partially because a lot of that is a lot of the content they watch tends to be a longer format, but they also make YouTube Shorts, so it's easy for them to bounce between one and the other. So for my money, it would probably be YouTube Shorts. Would make the most logical sense.
You think the kids would do that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
they're already watching YouTube stuff.
They're already watching YouTube stuff, and that their friends are, more importantly, their friend circle are watching YouTube Shorts. So when they get a friend, it's like, hey, did you see this thing on YouTube Shorts? My kids will go try to find it. And the same for me. I'm a big YouTube user, and a lot of the creators I follow also do a lot of YouTube Shorts. So I have that as part of the stuff that comes through my feed on my phone.
We got a lot of interesting responses in here in the chat. Technomensch says, I've been using Reels ever since Threads forced me to create an Instagram account. Most of the TikTok content Howard sees is through Instagram 2 weeks later. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. I think it was Rob Dunwood was saying like he sees TikTok on X or on Threads or, where people are linking to it, not on TikTok.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. BGM and CWJ says, I'll probably end up doing more reading if TikTok goes away. I can't see migrating to YouTube Shorts for entertainment. But I'm curious why. Like, what if it's the same stuff? If all the TikTok people showed up on YouTube Shorts, is it the format? Is it the fact that it's in YouTube?
I think it's what we were talking about earlier in the week about how X sort of, when it was Twitter, kind of coalesced this community around it and sort of set the tone. And once you have that, there's sort of a momentum or inertia to it that makes it hard to shift over. And so, just getting people to come over, even if you do the same content, same style on a different platform, I I mean, if it goes away, then that's sort of done for them. But it's weird. I like that there is a loyalty or attraction to TikTok that I don't see, but definitely a lot of other people see. And I'm not saying that TikTok isn't a valuable or very.
I was asking
thing.
that person specifically why they as a consumer wouldn't move to shorts, and I think the first part of what you said tracks. I'm curious if they'll respond, but it does have to do with the community, right? If your community isn't going over there, then you're not going to go over there either, right? Because the community is, you're going to go wherever the community is.
I've seen people do this over subreddits, and it's not that hard to move to another subreddit, for discussion. And there's an inertia because people just like, I mean,
it's not that hard, but at the same time, it's like, okay, TikTok goes away. Let's say we wake up tomorrow and there's no more TikTok. I mean, that's not really what's happening, but let's just say that, that's the case. What do? Yeah, you can get a lot of the same type of content on Instagram or YouTube. Those are the kind of the two that I can think of.
Snap would be the other one.
Yeah. And
Lemonade.
And
don't forget Lemonade. ByteDance would like us to not forget Lemonade, though everyone's going to forget Lemonade.
Right. But, it's sort of like when I started to migrate from X to Threads, and I'm still on X. I haven't bounced out completely, but I check Threads and Mastodon and Blue Sky to some extent, just more often. It took some time for me to be like, where are my friends?
Yes.
Where are the people? Because you don't just go somewhere and be like, great party. You have to curate your whole thing. And that's I think part of when one social network goes away, then it's not impossible to build back your community, but it's not like a one button press either.
Yeah, it's not a
BGMN CWJ answered the question. The algorithm to find me content I'd be hooked on isn't as great on YouTube Shorts. Yeah. TikTok got me in minutes. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Laminar Rainbow says, I'm just going back to ICQ.
AOL Instant Messenger, where are you? Let's do it.
Mike has a really interesting comment. It will be weird here in Canada because TikTok will still work, but will all the US creators disappear? It would be a ghost town. And I think that is something I don't hear as many people talking about either, which is whether they shut it down or not, if it gets blocked, a lot of people are going to stop posting to it because no new users can come in. And that will affect other markets because the U.S. is a huge creator of content. Larry in Atlanta also says, I publish the same thing to all three, TikTok, Instagram, and Reels and YouTube Shorts for the nonprofit I'm involved in. So he'll just stop publishing it to one of those.
To the one of them.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a thought about something on the show, but you don't know our email address, you should know it by now. But hey, let's remind you, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. All right, Roger, there's word on the street that people don't want to buy EVs anymore. So what's the latest here?
So in a new Deloitte study or a survey called the 2025 Global Automotive Consumer Study, tongue twister, the company found that 5% of U.S. consumers only 5% of U.S. consumers want an EV as their next car. The study surveyed over 31,000 people in 30 countries, and among the other tidbits of information, 62% of the U.S. consumers reporting in that survey said that their next car, they would not want their next car to be electrified. 20% of those Americans surveyed showed a preference for a hybrid as their next automobile, with another 6% wanting a plug-in hybrid. So the EV is at the bottom with ICE or internal combustion engine above it, several orders. And in other countries, it's a similar story. Whether you're talking about Europe or China or even Japan, there's a lower preference for EVs. And there's three reasons generally given. One is price. Second is range anxiety. In other words, how far can I get on a charge? And then in China and Korea specifically, cold weather performance. They felt that it would not operate as well as a traditional internal combustion engine or a hybrid in colder seasons.
Okay.
And it's well, it's interesting because it's one of those things where 5 years ago I was saying my next car it's going to be an EV, totally going to be EV.
I felt the same way. Yeah.
And now I'm at the point where my car's reaching 20 years old, and it runs great. And if I'm lucky, I'll run another 10 years. But I can't assume that. And so I'm at the stage where I'm not actively shopping, but I'm actively looking. And so what I'm finding is, first of all, the new car market in general, not just EVs, but gas-powered cars, very expensive, $30,000 to $40,000 for a new car, which kind of pushes me. And EVs are around that or higher in the price range, and so that's pushed me to look into the used market. And when I look in the used market, there's all sorts of things you need to consider about the automobile, maintenance and all that, but also anything you need to do to get it up and running. And for an EV, the biggest concern for me would be battery replacement, and then finding or actually installing a charger into my garage right now, which is not capable of supporting one because I don't have 220 going into it. But
Do you
I
have
was
power
curious
in your garage at all?
No, I have 120 volts, but
So you could do it. It just
I
be
could,
efficient.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't, yes, it would not be efficient. It would take a very long time.
You mean like you'd have to leave it plugged in overnight every night to fill up the next morning?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was another interesting thing in this survey is that in China, the majority of EV drivers and owners and people interested in it don't plan to charge at home because they don't have a space, but they still wanted it in EV.
And I seriously considered if that is because their infrastructure supports that. They have chargers at stores and parking lots at their places of.
So do we.
I mean, if you've got a charger somewhere near where you're going, most days, then I don't know how different it is than charging it overnight. It's like charging my Apple Watch.
And
it's
granted,
I charge it when I can.
That's not true in all areas of the United States. Also not true in all areas of China. But we have a very robust infrastructure now. I mean, chargers are everywhere. If you go look at those charger maps, it's not hard if you're in a city to find one. Now, if you're outside a city, it's different, but that's also different in China.
Yeah,
I think it's also, it's like you can't really, it's hard to explain to somebody who is of a certain age, perhaps, maybe has a car
right
that
here,
they've had
Sarah.
for a long time.
I'm right here. Sarah.
Not talking about you, Tom. You know who I'm talking about.
Someone who's like 54 and their car is 10 years old.
Yeah, trying
Such
to
a
think about
young car.
EVs, but does it work? But no, I mean, I think for example, my mom has a car that it was new in 2004, a lot of miles on it, great shape. She doesn't have to get rid of it. I mean, the car is fine, but it's old. And she's sort of been talking about what do we do? What do we do next? And I think for somebody in her position, to be like, do I go EV? She could probably figure out something in her garage. She'd have to figure out her charging situation. But I mean, there is a plug in her garage. I mean, she could, out of the gate, at least have an EV that could be plugged. She also doesn't drive long distances. Some people who say like, oh, but what about the long distances? It's like, you kind of have to be honest with yourself about like, do you do that though? I mean, I maybe drive more than 300 miles once a year, on a single charge. That would require me to look into, where do I go? How do I make sure that I'm fine? Most people don't do that.
Yeah,
So-
and as Rod Simmons has said on this show multiple times, it's really not that much planning, and it's less planning all the time, and it's built into your car in most EVs. Famous says, I'm a telecommuter. I've had my EV for a year at the 120 volt charging at home. It's usually not a problem. I use a local park for level 2 charging occasionally if I wanted to go a little faster. I only ever hear about objections to buying an EV from people who haven't bought it. I rarely hear someone who bought an EV, and I do hear it sometimes, but I rarely hear someone who bought an EV saying, I wish I hadn't bought it. It didn't work out for me. It ends up that the objections and fears are often not related to reality. They're just related to uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly personally believe it just has to do with cost. Like it was the number one reason given, but I
Yes,
just think,
absolutely.
yeah.
I think when it comes down to it, the fact that it's $30,000 or more to get an EV is the problem if you're in the US. But if you're not in the US, you've got more and more options all the time. Hyundai's launching an $18,000 EV in Japan. That's crazy cheap. And even BYD is, it's cheaper and it's available in Europe, but they're giving up on coming to the US because the US is slapping tariffs specifically on companies like BYD already.
I mean, and that's the thing, if the cost of a new car has gone up dramatically since 2021, that I do feel if those makers were able to bring those models at those price points, I think a lot of these numbers would shift significantly because a lot of people are looking at their wallets and they're like, you want me to pay how much? People are willing to spend. It's interesting because people are willing to spend, up to $10,000 to $15,000 on a used car, and if you can get an EV within that $15,000 to $18,000 range, I mean, it would be.
And you can. It's just the U.S. won't let them sell them here, and no one that can sell them here has offered that yet. Hyundai, go offer that $18,000 car here too.
I mean,
Clinton points out part of the reason for the high prices is range anxiety. People want more battery than they actually need, which drives the price up.
I'm
very
well
true.
aware. I drive at most, within a 15-mile radius on a day-to-day.
Yeah, and you can trickle
basis.
charge overnight and just be fine. Be just fine.
So that's not really. It's just that initial
just getting over that psychological hump, right?
The psychological and then the wallet hump for the current pricing that's available in the U.S.
Tommy says for new cars, only EVs are available here in Norway.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How about that?
And I think the worry about replacing the battery is becoming less and less of an issue. Who was it said that the battery will probably last? Oh, Famous says the battery might last longer than the car body these days because the batteries last a lot longer than they did 10, 15 years ago.
And I think especially when it comes to used EVs, there isn't a culture or a popular understanding. Like everyone remembers when their grandfather said, "Hey, when you go to the used car lot, these are the things you check out on the car to make sure it's on the up and up." We don't have that yet for the EVs.
What were those things
exactly, but that's what I'm saying. It's
you don't have oil. You don't have a combustion engine. There's so many fewer things to check. It's
Right.
not even an issue, right? Because the maintenance cost, Howard's saying that initial cost of the EV might be higher, but my wife's Honda CRV has cost so much more to own than my EV.
And that's the thing. When you amortize a cost over the life of the car, EVs win out, but people don't look at that. They go to the window and they see the price.
Change is hard, right? I mean, you've got someone
It's
who's like,
expensive for some people,
I know how much I can drive, and then I go to the gas station and I fill up my tank, and then I drive that's very hard to get somebody out of that mindset.
I'm a total hypocrite, by the way. I'm sitting here making all these wonderful logical arguments for EV with me sitting on two old gas engine cars. And I'm like, well, we could get an EV, but then I have to do things differently. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's not a logical argument. It's like, but then I have to change things.
And the thing
Creatures
is,
of
even
habit.
Yep, totally.
And the thing is, like with a gas power, I drive my truck like once a week because I need to, not because I need to go anywhere.
Because you want to keep it. Yeah,
you need to
you don't want it
drive
to
a car
sit
in
too
order
long,
to,
or you'll have problems with it. Yeah,
it's such a mind thing. But man, if they can do that 18,000 to 20,000 price point, oh my god.
Bring it here, Hyundai. We'll buy it.
Yeah.
Me and Roger.
All right.
We promise.
Well, listen, as we ruminate on whether or not we're all buying EVs over the weekend, it is Friday, so Roger, I think we're gonna do a debate today.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but it's the new year, and I thought we would have a nice round of debates where we tackle some of the most perplexing and introspective questions about our attitudes around technology. Now, because of the current wildfire situation, Southern California, it sort of gave me a theme to work off of. And this is really about any disaster situation, not just wildfires. So the first debate question is, if you had to leave your home immediately for what, they tell you got to go home, leave right now. What one piece of technology other than your cell phone?
Yeah, because we're all just going to say phone, right?
Yeah. Outside of your phone,
So we've got
you
the
take
phone
with
already,
you?
but what else?
Yes. Yeah. One other thing. It could be a portable charging station, a laptop, headphones, a wearable, Fitbit style device, hard drives, whatever. I would actually grab my NAS with the 2 hard drives on it because it has all my kids' photos, like my family photos, all that stuff.
So if I pick headphones, then I'm done, right? Like earbuds even?
Yeah. Yeah, but
you
like,
only
why?
get those, Tom.
Why would you pick that? What would?
No, I'm saying if I pick your earbud, I can't say, well, I'd take my earbuds and something. I have to
like you pick
be
your
just.
earbuds.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah.
What?
Oh,
have
so
to
you
pick
couldn't take your
just
earbuds
one.
and your phone?
No, you can take your phone and your earbuds,
you,
but if
you
you
have your phone,
Gotcha.
you have your
but
phone.
if you take your earbuds, you can't take anything else.
Gotcha. Now, does this
you have your
assume-
phone? One other piece of technology you can take. What is
Does
that?
this assume that where you're going, you'll be able to plug stuff
They
in?
just tell you got to evacuate. You got to go right now.
Oh,
I can
man.
take my charger, and that doesn't count as a device, right?
No, that's a piece of technology. It's a portable charging station. That would
Not a
count.
portable charging station. I mean, the
charger.
thing to
Yeah.
plug my phone into the
Oh,
wall.
oh yeah.
I could take that's just an
Yes.
accessory to the phone.
Yes.
Okay.
yes,
All
you
right.
can do that.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say like my Anchor backup battery, but that's just going to need to be charged too, right? So
I'd probably grab my Mac and my hard drive, my SSD.
kind of leaning the same way. I'm kind of thinking laptop, as long as I get to take the laptop.
I don't even have a laptop. I'd have to take my desktop, my iMac. Yeah.
I mean, I've got a new Mac Mini that I love more than life itself, and yet I think if push came to shove, I've got my phone. I would take the MacBook Air because that's just going to be easier to move around with.
And just remember,
because
you don't
if I
know
take
why.
the Mac Mini, it's like if I don't take the monitor, I need a
Oh,
monitor
see, yeah.
somewhere. Yeah,
I need-
that gets problematic. Like, I mean, it's great in my office right now, but not on the move.
And just
Yeah.
remember, you don't know if you're coming back or not. There's no
Yeah,
information.
yeah.
You just got to leave.
That's why I'm leaning against taking any kind of battery, even my EcoFlow, which can last like 48 hours. I'm like, but then I'm just gonna have to plug that in. And so I think I'm taking the phone. Well, obviously we're all taking the phone, but I think I'm taking the laptop too, because there are things I can do on the laptop if I get a connection and charge that I can't do on the phone. Although I
don't
kind of
have
want to
a
take the
laptop.
headphones, but yeah.
I'm taking my hard drives. I got to have my data it's secured with me.
Oh,
No.
you don't have it in the cloud? Do you not have your data saved to the cloud?
I have 2 terabytes of data saved to the cloud. I have 6 terabytes of information. So I am taking.
You need to
the
back
6
up that 6 terabytes somewhere remote, so you don't have to take it with you. That's the whole point of the triple
I
redundancy.
understand. Like my critical stuff on the cloud, but there's a bunch of stuff. I'm taking my drives.
Yeah. I'd
When
have to
Eileen
plug
packed
my-
bags,
My drives
when
have
Eileen
all my
packed our
music
go
that I've
bags,
ripped.
I was gonna say when Eileen packed our bags in case we had to go, she put all the important photos in a suitcase, and that's basically what you're saying is your important data.
I mean,
you
and
take that with
that's
you.
actually that's the funny part of this is like if it were, if someone said, Sarah, you have 5 minutes, I wouldn't take any technology. I would take photos. That's what I
Well,
would take,
that's
because
a
those are
different
the only
question,
things.
right? Yeah,
that's the only thing that I can't. I anything that's in the cloud, we're good.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things of mine that aren't. So it turns into like an analog conversation of like, I'm taking that because I'll never get it
Well,
back.
in this weird, like not ever going to happen situation, you can take anything else with you that's not technology, but you only get to take one other piece of technology.
Oh man.
Well, all right. So it's the MacBook Air and a lot of yearbooks.
I would probably, I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'll bring my Cintiq so at least I could work. But then I'd have to bring the 27-inch iMac.
Yeah,
And
but
Yeah, I was gonna
now
say
you
you
just
gotta have
passed
something to
your
plug
limit.
the Cintiq into. Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm just bringing the
I mean,
27-inch
like,
iMac.
there's so much past work I have stored. I'm not going to store every episode of Textilla up in the cloud. I'm not going to store all,
Why?
all-
It's probably on YouTube already.
Because
Yeah.
of the cost.
no, some of it. No, it's just, I mean, that alone is like over a terabyte. I mean, like, there's just a lot of stuff.
Just
One of
put
the
it in,
things I've always been
slow backup. It's cheap.
true. But anyways, I would just take the NAS. I would just unplug it and just
I
go
would take
right
the
back.
laptop.
Yeah,
All
I would
right.
take the laptop.
Laptop, drives, LAN,
27-inch.
27-inch iMac.
And Len running down the street.
You
carrying
got to
a
be
27-inch
careful that
phone.
people don't think you're a looter. So you got to make
Don't,
sure.
don't slip and fall.
Roger,
I would
don't
just-
even
I
joke.
would just
Don't
put it in
even
the back
joke.
of my car, and then drive away. So
All right. Here's a moral dilemma for you. The second debate question: in a disaster situation, would you allow another person to use your phone to contact whomever, a person or authorities or whatever, either through text, email, or a phone call? Although that would eat into your phone's charge, and you have no way of recharging your phone.
So in this scenario, we have no way of
Yes.
recharging it.
I would.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But I would.
The
But
answer
I
is
would put
yes.
limits. You put limits on that. Like,
How
hey,
much percentage is left on my phone? Because if it's 2%, no, I need that. Or 1%.
yeah,
you know,
or
like
I think
if,
also
if that
depends
call
on-
is going to be the last thing
Yeah.
that phone does, sorry, I need
Yeah.
to save that.
You just have to say, yeah.
If I got
would,
99%, yeah, of course. Yeah, knock yourself out.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
talk too long.
and just remember,
Well,
you don't know
okay,
how
yeah,
long
it's
you're
sort
going
of
to
like,
be without.
If you're
a
at
phone.
I don't know, an airport, right, and you're fully charged, and someone's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, something's going on with my phone. Can I call my mother?" That sort of thing. You'd be like, "Of course."
Yeah.
But just remember, you're in a disaster situation.
I
so there
know,
might
I
not-
know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I still stand with yes. If somebody's in a worse situation than me, then they take precedence. That's the deal.
Oh, Saray TW.
But that gets complicated, certainly.
Technomensch says they would offer to send the text for them, but no calls, which some people have done. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
where people
Oh, I
like,
thought he
"I'll
said
text
no
you for-"
cap.
No,
Like he wasn't lying.
no cap. Come on.
And
Sorry,
then
it's no call.
I
I
do it.
misread it.
No
That's
cap.
my
and
fault.
Saray TW mentioned that they have already had this dilemma and they allowed it.
Ah, you have actually.
You're a
Yeah,
better
'cause
person than I, Saray. Much
It's
better.
Yeah.
You know what? We all say we would do something, and it would be interesting to see how we act if it actually happened. Saray knows that. I bet Roger would allow them, even though he's saying he wouldn't.
Nah,
You're
I
a
think
softy at
everybody
heart.
would.
You'd be
Yeah.
like, oh,
No, I'm
fine."
a sliding softy. I have the you brought it on yourself.
Yeah, but once you're looking
made
into their
like-
puppy dog eyes and they've given
I
you
will-
their
Listen,
selves.
I will
okay, all
do
right.
this.
Let's all come back to earth, okay?
Okay.
I mean, if I have $5 in my wallet, like actual dollars, physical dollars, and somebody needs some money, and I am in a position to give them the $5, I'm going to do that. If
Sure.
for whatever reason I need that $5, I cannot, I cannot go forward without the $5. Then I'm going to be like, I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
wish I could help. Goodbye. And I think that, that's the dilemma that we're talking about is I think we all would 100% do the right thing.
Yeah,
But if you can't do the right thing, you can't do the right thing.
And just
That's why I
remember-
said how much charge is left on the phone. Because if
right.
I've got 99%, it's like, oh yeah, I've got $1,000. You can have $5.
and
But
just-
if I
and
have
just rem-
1% left on the phone, then I'm like, this is my last $5.
And just
You
remember,
can't
you're
have it.
you're in a situation where there's no certainty of when you would be able to ever charge. Like I'm
Yeah,
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 but-
no, I get that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if I have 99%, even if I don't know when I'll ever be able to recharge, I can afford it still. If
Yeah,
I'm
I-
at 1% and I don't know if I'll ever be able to recharge, that makes it even more like, yes, I'm going to
So-
have to keep that.
I
Yeah.
just went through this back in the summer when we had a tornado come through. We lost power for 5 days, almost a week.
Right.
And I think what ends up happening is you start getting into a conservation mode where you're like, okay, we can use it for this, but I'm gonna hold off, and maybe we can figure out the next move of possibly moving to a place that does have power where we could charge.
Yeah, right.
So that's, you start, unless you're in like completely dire straits where it's like nothing's happening, you aren't going to be charged for a week, then I think a normal person would just be like, okay, I'll let you use this and kind of hope down the road that something is gonna.
Yeah. Well, and I would let them make the call. At a certain point, I'd be like, okay, you have to stop, right? Like if they were abusing the privilege, but
tap them on the back.
Yeah.
Or, the very cynical part of me would do this, like you just start charging people.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
But
Roger,
Oh, right.
Roger the
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
I've done that.
I'm sorry. I've brought up the worst of
Roger
Always,
would do
always
it.
on a hustle. Always
Roger
on
would
a
make a
hustle.
cash grab. He'd
charge
gouge people.
I charge people to park in my driveway for 4th of July because it was
people used to offer me money, like, because parking was so tight in my old neighborhood back in San Francisco. They would can I park your drive? I'll give you $20. Like, nah,
yeah.
I share it with someone else. All right, this is the last one.
All right.
It's a little lighthearted. What food items do you or would you pack in an emergency kit to give yourself or your family a little morale boost during an emergency, like some sort of comfort?
Okay. So this isn't like emergency food that's good, like MREs. This is
like
this is you can have it in there and it'll make you feel good. Yeah.
Like would you put Pop-Tarts? I put Pop-Tarts.
Cheez-Its. 100%.
Candy
Cheez-Its?
bar. Just
No
any kind of
Triscuits?
candy bar. Chocolate.
Cheez-Its, Triscuits, Wheat Thins, all the crackers.
Really?
Dark
And just
chocolate.
remember, it has to go in an emergency kit, so it can't be like, something that spoils. You can't put like an ice cream cake in there.
Cheez-Its are perfect. They'll never spoil. They're kind of like,
Yeah, but for a morale boost, you like cracker? Really? Thanks.
Well,
I
Hey,
would
don't
want
yuck on anyone's
strawberries
yum, man.
I can.
chocolate.
Len gets into my getaway car and he's like, Cheez-Its? Really?
Cheez-Its again?
Yeah, anything
This
else?
is what you grab.
This is the 6th time you've rescued me this month,
Where's
and
the
it's always
protein?
Cheez-Its.
I'm like, eat the Cheez-Its.
These are
It's
wheat
in the
thins,
cheese.
sun chips. Come on,
Our
no.
producer Joe in our text is like, we have a bottle of wine in our go bag, just so you know.
Yes, there you go.
I mean,
Yeah,
if it's,
just to kind of cut the edge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if there's enough alcohol in it, it could also serve as antiseptic.
Anything chocolate. That
the
was
soul.
Yes.
I'm definitely dark chocolate. That would go in
Dark
mine.
chocolate
That
would be in the go bag.
Yeah.
Pop-Tarts.
I mean,
Pop-Tarts would
well,
serve
like
me
all-
and my
all-
kids.
All jokes aside, I think I'd probably do like cans of tuna.
Yeah, no,
What?
that's what I like about this
would be
question
like,
is like
I know it's not going to be like fun, but it's
Yeah.
going to actually give us sustenance more than
I like
crackers
Roger's
or-
question because he's saying, yeah, of course, practically you would pack different stuff, but what's the thing that would make you feel good?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
'cause
thing
I'm-
that you
I'm
would say,
thinking-
like,
I'm thinking about my kids too. Like, just give them some chocolate. Like my teenage daughter, you give her a candy bar, and she's going to be okay for a little bit.
I remember I remember an old Anthony Bourdain one where he was doing Beirut, and they had to that was during a situation where Israel had
They had to evacuate.
the southern part, and they had to evacuate American citizens, and they put them aboard U.S. Navy ships, and they were sailing back into the Mediterranean. And he noticed that they were serving tuna casserole for the kids because that made the kids happy. And he made a quip about how much food matters to a person's state of being and emotional state. And so I was thinking with this, you would want that one thing, man, things are going horrible, but at least I got my Pop-Tart.
But at least I got my dark chocolate.
If my thing would be
That would be mine. I can't think of anything else. Really.
Imitation
chocolate
crab,
versus
right? That would be my thing. And
Wait,
everybody else
crab?
is why would you bring imitation crab, Dad? What's wrong with you?
Like in a can,
Doesn't matter. It
obviously.
doesn't matter. It's supposed to help. It's supposed to help morale.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd bring
I mean,
sardines then, because I do like them.
Yeah, well, they're kind of messy
Ramen,
though.
as long as you
There's a
can
lot of
boil water.
But,
You know?
they're
Well,
in a
no,
tin.
no. We didn't talk about that. Do we have a floating kitchen with us? No,
you
no.
I
probably
mean, none of that is
bringing
included, so you
Cheez-Its.
can
That's
only.
what we're doing, everybody. Get in the car.
Ice cream. Yeah.
Oh, ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, you
No,
know what?
it's
If it's
gonna melt,
frozen,
it's gonna
that
be a
was
mess.
is it freeze dried ice cream?
Freeze dried. Yeah. Astronaut
Oh.
ice cream.
Yeah, what are we on Mars?
18 pack of Gatorade. You just
Yeah, there was no weight limit in your question.
I mean, yeah, you could
Actually,
totally
I will
do it.
say, Gatorade. I liked having Gatorade
Yeah.
or vitamin water nearby.
yeah.
So
I'm
there's that.
actually
one.
trying
It's
to
not going
think
to
of
keep
like
you alive forever, but
what are the things when I was at CES in my hotel room that I was like, oh, I wish I was at home so I could eat this right now. And it was dark chocolate was the only thing. That's the only thing I could think of. And fruit. Actually, I might pack some fruit. I know it's spoilage, but it,
I mean, an apple
Blueberries.
stays for a couple
yeah, an
of
apple
days.
stays for a while, so I think that counts.
Bananas.
banana.
Oranges.
Yeah, banana.
Bananas last less long.
Blueberries.
Bananas.
Bananas.
Even
All the
like a mushy banana, it's like you can eat it. It's potassium. Eat the banana.
Oh, peanut butter.
Oh,
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good one. That might work for
That
me
is a good
too.
one.
Peanut butter.
I do
'Cause
like
you
peanut
can
butter.
You can do it would be almond butter for me, but you could do that with like almond butter on a Triscuit.
Ooh, Technomensch points out powdered Gatorade is the way to go.
There you go.
That way you
do
can
it.
take more of it.
Technomensch has clearly been to Mars.
So like dark chocolate with sardines for Tom, Triscuits and Cheez-Its for Sarah.
Together, yeah, as a little
Imitation
sandwich.
crab and peanut
Len,
butter.
Len would have Gatorade imitation crab, and I would have Pop Tarts.
And we'd all have peanut butter.
Yes.
We'd all have
at
peanut
the
butter.
table.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
good. We're
fine.
all set for whatever
Durian.
happens.
I'll bring durian.
I mean, we're good for like a week at least.
Yeah, at least.
We'll
We'll be
After
happy.
that-
The point is like, what's
Yeah.
going to make us happy? Actually,
What's going to
Oreos
make you
might
happy?
me
I mean,
Oh,
what
yeah.
would make me actually happy on the road is just like an unlimited ramen restaurant. Just like
Oh, you could take ramen with you in your emergency kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would still
ramen.
really-
Yeah.
but
It's
it's,
just
messy
crackers
and
at that
sloppy
point.
and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cup
that,
ramen.
that would be what I would actually want. But if I
Cup
had
ramen's
to
not bad.
go,
I might do that.
Cup ramen is not bad. It's delicious.
I go to Tom's house and I look at his emergency bag. It's like Tom ramen sardines and
Cup ramen. I was saying cup
Cup
ramen.
ramen, cup
So you don't have to find a container for it, right? You just pour the whole one.
Yeah. That's good. My wife got me a Filipino box of candy for or snacks, and one of the things was chiz curls.
Oh yeah, I know those.
Oh, those are great.
I don't know what they are.
They're-
What are
it's
they?
basically just like Cheetos, but it's
Yeah.
fun.
But they're
Funny.
curled.
But they're spelled differently.
And they're smaller bags for some reason.
Yes,
Like maybe they don't eat so much in the Philippines.
that's pretty good though. It was good.
Well, should we check the mailbag then?
Let's do that. Tim wrote in, I'm late in posting this, but I loved the idea of reviewing the Ig Nobel Awards. Can we make this a yearly thing?
Oh yeah, when Dr. Nikki did it. Yeah, I'll pass that along to Dr. Nikki, Tim. Absolutely. I'm glad you liked it. During the show, folks have been submitting titles. We should probably remind them to do that. But yes, they have been doing it anyway. They don't need a reminder. Showbot.tv/DTNS. Top vote getters. There's so many with 3. It's like a 7-way tie for first. Larry in Atlanta is at the top. Must have been the first one to get there with Venue. We hardly knew you.
Oh, very good.
I like that one. That's a good
View
one.
every movie on MoveU.
I
From
like
Howard.
that one.
Watch this space continued from Fred819. Will TikTok become a ghost town? Is this good news for cable TV? From Zoe. You got your
Could be,
FUBU in my
could be.
Hulu.
I kind of
Peanut
like.
butter and chocolate. It's always the
That's right.
best.
Yeah.
You
always
got
the
your
best.
Hulu in my FUBU.
I do like Clint Woodward's Rogers Apocalyptic Phone Rentals.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
$1 per 10 seconds.
I mean,
tech go bag, stuff like that. Roger, what'd you go with? Oh, sorry, Sarah. That was your your move. I stepped on
How
your
dare
line.
you, Tom? How dare
I'm
you?
sorry.
Talking about snacks and doing this to me.
Sarah, what did we go with?
What we went with is TikTok's clock running out from Clinton Woodward.
Hey!
Thank you
Nice.
to everybody for submitting.
Good job.
We don't
Good
know.
job.
I mean, TikTok's clock is running out in some capacity. We'll see how it
It doesn't
shakes
look
out.
good for it, at least not in the
Does the
United
clock
States.
stop?
not in
for
the
TikTok?
US. Not in the US.
Stopping TikTok, yeah.
Speaking of, Len Peralta, what have you been drawing for today's show? Might it be about TikTok?
It might be about TikTok. You know, you talked a lot about the users of TikTok. I kind of went a different way and talked about the people who use TikTok as influencers. And this is my little drawing. This is a guy. He says, I used to be a pretentious influencer on TikTok. Then TikTok was banned. Now I'm just insufferable. So yeah, this, the very first two things for this month, last week, it was like this very pointless thing. This week it's insufferable. I think it's I'm a little bit dark.
Yeah, it's starting 25.
Channeling Orson Welles.
A little bit, yeah. If you're interested in this image and you are not insufferable, you can go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Len. Back me at the DTNS lover level, and you can get it immediately. Or go to my online store, lenperaltastore.com, where it is right on the front page, right there for you to purchase. So
big thanks to those watching us live, supporting us. Laminar Rainbow, once again, with the super sticker. We very much appreciate it. Love Laminar Rainbow. Y'all got to stop letting Laminar just be out there on his own, though.
Yeah.
Like, he can't be the only one doing this. Oh, look at that. I say that in C-Spawn. Comes right in with a super sticker.
Good
Thank
job.
you, C-Spawn. You're the best. Thanks to all the folks on Twitch as well. Honda Insight resubscribed for the 45th month. Goes along with Roger's car tech conversation. Lion Jim Video used 30 bits to gigantify an emote. Zoe cheered us with bits. Technomensch cheered us with bits. Alex Eric 95 resubscribed at tier 1 for the 56th month. P squared for the 30th month. Possum 42 for the 49th month. So many good folks supporting us live on Twitch, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Hi, LinkedIn folks. Good to see you too. It's Friday, so we have a new top 5 out. Don't miss top 5 tech losers of 2024. Find out if I put myself in. You can catch it at Daily Tech News Show on TikTok, DTNS Picks. No, it's DTNS Show, I'm sorry, on Instagram, and youtube.com/Daily Tech News Show. Keep those comments coming. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
We'll be back on Monday with Justin Robert Young joining us. Catch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 2100 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and stay safe.
This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show Live were created by the following people. Producer and host Sarah Lane. Host Tom Merritt. Host Rob Dunwood. Producer Roger Chang. Video producer Joe Kuntz. Producer at large Anthony Lemos. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding. Our mods: Beatmaster W. Scottus1, BioCow, Captain Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Matthew J. Stevens, aka Gadget Virtuoso, and JD Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music and art provided by Martin Bell, Dan Luders. Art by Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Tom McNeil. Contributors to this week's show included Shannon Morse, Allison Sheridan, Jason Howell, and Justin Robert Young. Our guests this week were Bodie Grimm and Robert Heron. And thanks to all the patrons who made the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.